Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Diablo 4. Highly anticipated game by Blizzard, and now in 2023, we're finally going to be able to play it. I've been doing what we call a deep dive. I think I did like 8 hours, 9 hours just watching videos, seeing other people's sum ups, other people's takes, and reading all the information and going through things. So I wanted to cover a lot of things and explain to people in my audience that might not be fully caught up on D4 yet on what's happening, what isn't happening. For example, I didn't really know until yesterday that the Runeword system has been temporarily scrapped and wasn't going to be in the launch. It's a good thing, but we'll talk about things like that later, and that's what this video is going to be about. And I've seen a lot of people have like very extreme takes one way or the other, whether you're a lover or a hater. There are some things I see that I definitely think I will like or dislike, but so I'm gonna wait until like the game is out. So I'm trying to, as always, temper my expectations a little bit, because I feel like every time I have like super hype expectations, they get shot down and I get disappointed. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about items and progression. And obviously Blizzard does cater more to a casual fan base than people like myself, but it's great that we're going to have other games like obviously PoE and Last Epoch that has a bit more depth to it. And the items that we see so far, without having played anything, did not seem that advanced. Something that I'm not a fan of seeing, the normal stats on the item, they seem a little shallow. Whereas it seems to be like both on unique items and legendary items, basically a one really cool stat that you care about. And there are some really cool systems there where you can basically pull out a stat and transfer it to other items. So that's going to be really interesting. Some are going to be drop only. Some are going to be something that you can unlock at a low tier in your codex. And copy to other items later. So there are some really cool systems there, but it seems to be more about that main stat, and the other ones are a little bit fillery. Obviously good for casual players that maybe don't care that much about fine-tuning their gear and each gear being really important, and potentially bad for people like me that I do care a lot about those things. The uniques especially are powerful affixes that you build around, and the legendaries will be things that change skills. They also seem like they can be fairly build enabling, but less so than uniques. Games like Diablo in the past has always had sets. One of my least favorite features of Diablo 3 was how commanding sets were in basically saying, you're playing this skill now, buddy. Sets are not available at launch and will be something that is coming later in the game. Runes and runewords, like I mentioned at the start, have been entirely scrapped. The initial system that we saw, which you can see here, was basically a cause and effect. Similar to, for those of you that have played Path of Exile, basically support gems, where there's one rune word. This could be basically a cast when damage taken system. So the first rune will be something like, well, when something happens. So for example, when I take damage, when I deal damage, when I deal cold damage, when I drink a potion. That would be the first rune, and then the second one would be, well, then this happens. This obviously got a lot of backlash by a lot of the fans of Diablo, because in Diablo 2, this was such a big part of the game where you basically build your own uniques and you're finding these shards basically for uniques for really cool items. Personally, I would love to see runewords return, very similar to Diablo 2, but with the actual base types being more interesting, because as somebody pointed out in my chat, things like Enigma aren't really that exciting at the end of the day. It's a strong, cool, unique, but it's just a unique. Item types also have specific implicits, like daggers dealing more damage to enemies that are close to you, that we're very used to from other ARPGs as well. And for those that really like things like plus gem levels or +1 charge bolt, +1 lightning seals, that does seem like it's returning. A lot of people like that in D2, and it's great to see that return. Gems and sockets are also returning. Going to be interesting to see how this is going to work either alongside a runeword system coming into the future. There is going to be a gambler NPC as well, and from the lines that we've seen, it's that you would be able to get the best gear possible with the gambler. So that makes you wonder, is it going to be very easy to gear with the gambler, or is it just going to be a ridiculously rare chance that you're very rarely actually going to see? Things that I'm looking forward to discover at launch. So Diablo 4 is a little bit more similar to games that we've seen like Lost Ark than traditional RPGs like Path of Exile, and Diablo 4 is more of an open world, and it is also going to feature resource gathering similar to Lost Ark. as well as like world shrines and stuff like that. So it is a bit more of a MMO world, and you'll see other people running around. Now, this can definitely be very cool. Personally, I do actually like a little bit of resource gathering in a game. It just depends how worth it is. And whenever the world feels really alive and cool, that can definitely be a nice thing for immersion, running around a little bit, especially when you're just like not actively playing. Maybe you're watching something and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do some gathering while I'm doing this. Salvaging gear is also making a return from Diablo 3, so breaking down gear that you have found. And there will be some crafting as well. I don't think the crafting is fully... I don't think we're fully sure about crafting from scratch. There is also upgrading of gear you already have, basically making it stronger and more powerful. And then we have the Occultist, which is basically you're able to add legendary affixes to rare or legendary gear. So if you do find something that's kind of build enabling early or cool, that's something you'll be able to add. And later you'll be able to use like the ones that have actually dropped and not just been added to your codex. The ones that are added to your codex at the end of a dungeon when you discover it is something that it seems you'll be able to do infinitely, but at a low and weak version of this. So that's nice because that gives you a reason to actually grind out something like a high roll of something for your in-game gear. So in terms of progression, there's going to be similar things to Torment level, and we have world tiers. You start out with having 1 and 2 unlocked. 3, 4, and 5 are available as well. It said something with 5 being something around like level 70. They'll be unlocked by doing certain dungeons. 1 and 2 you can choose as you start. The 1 is, you know, more for beginner players, and 2 is more for veteran players. So if you've already played Diablo in the past or you're already familiar with this type of game, you're probably okay to start on 2, especially on softcore, and then you'll get better rewards, more loot, more XP. There's a new system, Renown, apparently fairly unpopular in World of Warcraft, but it's basically like exploring areas and finding shrines and things like that, and you have to run around the world. But obviously this very early, as pointed out by a lot of others, gets min-maxed, and you know, you just get a set route that you're just running through very early. They do also have Altars of Lilith, which I haven't played Lost Ark, but I kept seeing people refer to them as Mokoko seeds from Lost Ark, where they're basically things that'll give you a permanent upgrade for not just the character you're playing, but all future characters you make on your account, which is a great thing for people that don't like making new characters and having it be the same experience as your first one. Maybe they want their second character to be a lot faster to level up and twink out, as we say. So as far as skill trees and things like that, you have like fairly normal, what we're used to in RPGs, skill trees that we've seen before. And yeah, they look very similar to a lot of other games where you have, you know, a skill that branches out, etc. And you see what you can pick. But then at the end game, you also have the Paragon board that looks very complicated and convoluted. I haven't interacted with this at all, so definitely something I'm going to have to learn as I'm playing and read up on more. But yeah, hopefully I'll be making some... Hi, Zizaran here with a new video talking about the Paragon boards. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It's cool to see because obviously the first announcements for Diablo 4, we started out with what people kept calling a skill twig. To see it evolve from that and getting more depth, that is nice. And it's going to be really interesting where Diablo falls on the whole complexity and depth scale and for how much we're going to be playing it. They've said that they're hoping to do up to 4 leagues per year. So for somebody like me, the dream would be a combination of having a month of PoE, a month of Diablo 4, and a month of Last Epoch would be absolutely the dream. Maybe half a day of Wilson. I'm obviously worried about the game being absolutely dog shit. You know, you gotta hope, and we'll play it by ear. So we'll see how it goes, and call it out if it's not good. So hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will make some other videos talking about what I've liked from what I've seen and what I haven't liked from what I've seen. So check that out, and either way, thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, bright-eyed eye less than I do.